Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Insights and Innovation series. Today, we've got our wonderful partners from the Trade Desk and the Amazing Cheese going to be talking to us about insights into the consumer mindset and in the post-COVID world, and particularly, in the run home to Christmas, it's never been a more time. If you have a retail client, this is a must-see. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Cheese, going to run things, and when it comes to insights and these kinds of intel and insights into the consumer mindset, no one probably does it better than these guys. So, over to you, Cheese. Don't want to put you on the spot, but there's a big wrap.
Thank you very much, Sam. Amazing to be here, guys. Thank you for giving me some of your time on a Monday. I just got a ping before that it said network connection unstable. So I'm just going to turn my camera off, which is good because I didn't sleep that much last night. But please probably message me if you can't hear me, and I'll do my best to backtrack. But I'm just going to share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Yeah, mate.
Okay. Oh, thank God. I can't see your lovely faces. So just once again, please yell out if there's any issues. But thank you very much for the introduction, Sam. My name is Chi. I am the Director of Accounts for the Trade Desk. And today I'm going to be taking you through some insights that we gathered via a YouGov survey. So it was a survey conducted by a third party. It was extremely recent, actually conducted just at the start of September, wholly focused around consumer habits for the Christmas season, which we're now very deep in. I kind of want to take you through these survey results over the next, it shouldn't take much longer than 20 minutes, but I do want to make this as interactive as possible. So just feel free to yell out if you have any questions or you want to question anything. As part of the follow-up, I will actually send out a copy of this survey because as with any survey, there's just so much data that you should be able to cut and actually gain insights that you can build into meaningful strategies for your own clients. I realize it's a little ironic to be delivering you Christmas insights given it's already almost mid-November, which is insane. But hopefully the information I share with you now is actually something you can turn around into short-term gain because there are some very interesting nuggets of information. And I do know that many clients, particularly having gone through a large period of uncertainty, have held back budget, probably waiting for a bit more certainty, which I, knock on wood, think we finally have now. Just a little bit about the Trade Desk for those of you who don't know who we are. We are a programmatic DSP. I hate to start with one complicated word and an acronym, but I know we have a diverse audience set here, so I'll just take a step back to explain what we do. But programmatic media buying is essentially the ability to buy media in an automated fashion. Machines and computers do the heavy lifting of assessing how much value you want to assign to a particular user and then give you the opportunity to put an ad in front of them. We call that decision media, and in a nutshell, it just allows you to treat everyone as you should uniquely, because everyone who you can put an ad in front of is worth something different to your clients. A DSP stands for demand side platform, and that just means we help you buy. The Trade Desk sits in an interesting place as an independent buying platform. We are objective in the sense of we are publicly traded, not owned by any other company. We are open in the sense that you can pretty much build any version of the Trade Desk for your own purposes. And we also work in a global fashion, including being the only Western DSP to operate with offices in China. So hopefully that gives you a bit of subtext of what we do. I already mentioned this, but I'm going to be going through the insights from a survey we ran. The survey did have something like a touch over 1,000 respondents. It is the most recent survey conducted regarding consumer attitudes, we believe. And those 1,000 respondents actually correspond very well to the demographics which make up the Australian consumer landscape. The three sections I've kind of broken this out to is what to expect this shopping season, which we're going through now, how you can actually engage with the modern consumer, and then finally, just some ideas to put in your toolkit or your tool belt in order to generate success in the next 3-4 weeks of media buying. Does that make sense? Is there anything else you guys would like me to cover today? And I'm kind of asking this just to make sure I'm still connected and I'm not talking at an empty screen.
All good.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. So what to expect this shopping season? Probably one of the most interesting but logical insights gleaned from this survey is the simple fact that Christmas probably started earlier this year, now more so than ever. I think it's safe to say that we are living in unprecedented times, and as such, we are experiencing the first of its kind in terms of the Christmas shopping rush. This process for us actually started all the way probably in early September. And I'm sure your clients have probably noticed the same thing as it comes to fluctuations with consumer spending. But some of the more predictable drop-offs is that Christmas decor and gifting will actually drop off around early December, whereas interestingly, interest into the food and drink category will actually continue to build. I think this is important to note as all of the major markets move out of lockdown, and we look at a system of consumer spending which is embracing more the idea of probably celebrating with the families that we've been split up from for so long, and a diminished appetite for international travel, or at least if there is appetite there, probably a diminished opportunity for international travel. So an insight that if you essentially work with any advertiser food and drink category, rather than taking your foot off the pedal as it comes to marketing tactics, we're looking at a protracted opportunity segment, probably extending all the way into early 2022. And so one of the biggest questions on everyone's mind is that we asked is how has COVID impacted your spending habits? Maybe somewhat surprisingly or not, depending which way you look at it, but COVID has actually made people want to spend more over the Christmas period. And this is particularly being driven by the younger generations. 39% of Gen Z respondents, 35% of millennial respondents indicated they intend to spend more this Christmas than in previous years. I'll talk about this a little later, but a lot of this is kind of lining up to essentially be the biggest period of Christmas shopping probably ever. I think this is compounded by several factors. No doubt, I think discretionary spending throughout the year has obviously just been diminished through lockdowns. People haven't been able to go out or travel, which just means a lot of avocado toasts missed, which means, particularly in younger generations, a lot of appetite in order to ensure a fun Christmas. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I know that just over the lockdown period, the missed opportunities to connect meaningfully with close friends and family have just meant essentially that I don't think there's ever been more pressure now than ever to just get a really good, really meaningful gift. And so we are seeing kind of the nexus of incredible amounts of consideration going into the gift buying process, matched by an incredible appetite for people to spend up big through that process. Men, overwhelmingly, 28% of respondents seem to be keen to spend even more. And I think reflective of an optimistic society, particularly for those who have managed to hold meaningful employment throughout COVID, to actually ensure that the economy is thriving in the next few months. This corresponds with, if we look at big ticket items, half of Australians said that the COVID-19 lockdowns will influence their Christmas spending, but this is almost towards the positive. I do want to highlight that this survey was concluded in early September, which was when we were in the thick of lockdown within specific timelines. But 32% of Aussies were planning on purchasing bigger ticket items this year. For any of those who have kept up with how the likes of JB Hi-Fi, car manufacturers and dealerships, and Harvey Normans and the likes are going, this is a burgeoning opportunity to actually get bigger ticket items on the consideration set. At the time the survey was held, 28% of these consumers were waiting until there's more certainty. I think we finally have more certainty. And as such, this data point should be a feather in your cap to go to your client if they are, if their bread and butter is high consideration items, to actually redouble marketing efforts in the next 6 weeks or so. I actually just wanted to take a quick, I'll just sub out very, very quickly, just to actually show you some of the data points that we do have available. To show you what we will send as a follow-up, but and we've appendicized these into just really beautiful slides, but as you can see, the amount of data we received is vast. Likeliness of domestic travel over Christmas. Well, I'm not going to bore you guys too much because it is Monday 12:15, but all the way through to 70 something plus slides of different consumer habits. On top of the kind of color I'll give you today, we'll just make sure we share this with you, because I do honestly think the biggest value you'll get out of this is what you can do afterwards with this information. But in the meantime, back to the show. Okay, where were we? Okay, here we go. So as mentioned, I think the certainty means that we should have a bullish outlook, in particular for high consideration items. I kind of referenced this earlier, but this Christmas will be the biggest online shopping Christmas in the history of online shopping, pretty much, with 41% of all respondents planning to shop online, more so now than ever. It's not surprising at all that e-commerce has become a part of life for all of us in probably the last year, including delivery of groceries. But this is extending into categories which were more traditionally bought in the offline sphere. So makeup and fragrances, health and personal care. There's now a very high incidence of these items being bought in an online perspective, which once again represents just a golden opportunity to influence online shopping habits. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in upcoming slides. And according to the survey, who are the biggest winners of Christmas? It's children. One could argue that children were probably some of the most heavily impacted over the lockdown period. Obviously, with many of their social circles being removed during the period, and as such, I'm sure for the other parents on this call, you'll agree that Christmas is just an opportunity to really spoil them rotten. My sympathies for anyone who had to homeschool during that period, but I'm sure that watching their frustrations grow as the months went on means that they just deserve just a really nice gift this Christmas. And so 45% of parents indicated that they're willing to spend more on gifts for their children this Christmas, with 50% of those being online purchases. And then most interestingly, the vast majority of parents are open to learning about new brands. I keep on mentioning the word golden opportunity, but this one, particularly for parents and household decision makers and building brand loyalty in the future, it's just a real opportunity for savvy brands. So they're just some of the insights that we've pulled out. Like I said, there are 50-something slides, which I will share around afterwards. And I'd actually love for just knowledge sharing, just to see how everyone goes with building out their own theses, if that's plural. And for this next section, I kind of want to go through just how we can read into the data to better engage the modern Aussie Christmas shopper. the data shows us that generally, historically looking, Australians are planners as it comes to purchases, but during Christmas, we see a huge leap in impulsive shopping. And of course, no more so than during Christmas sales and promotions. Once again, we see the name big ticket items coming up. But this impulsiveness means that repetition of message, constant pushes of awareness are now incredibly important, as well as measuring the actual effects of people taking advantage of these Christmas sales and promotions. But this level of impulsiveness and this willingness combined with online shopping and the willingness to spend more, as you can see, is just kind of just forming just a huge opportunity in general. And also, interestingly, people who are brand loyalists now will not be brand loyalists forever, because it's pretty clear that almost half do not hold a loyalty to a brand during the Christmas period. And this includes when buying for themselves, and increases when they're buying gifts for other people. And about the same, once again, for people learning about new brands, during Christmas sales. And so when we look at the ability to capitalize on this huge burgeoning amount of impulse buyers, there's also a huge opportunity to turn these into repeat customers into 2022 and beyond. And I'll talk a little bit more about tactics around how you do this a little later. If we stack rank the factors which are most important for Australians when considering Christmas purchases, number one is price, which is no surprise. Number 2 and 3 are in some ways surprising, but also not, given that Australia Post, I think, hit the press in like September to say, get your shopping in very quickly because we're going to be under the pump to get all the deliveries done. But as e-commerce grows, shipping costs of something like a $10 flat fee for a $17 gift is untenable. And as such, there is an opportunity to actually increase sales through click and collect, expedited shipping, or the opportunity to push someone to actual stores. Lower on the scale is brands that people have purchased before, another feather in the cap for winning brand, consumers away from competitors. Quite sadly, and hopefully this is not indicative of the future, but the least important factor was a brand's commitment to sustainability. And I say that because I obviously believe that will be an incredibly important purchasing decision, or just something that people factor in probably more so in 2022 and 2023, or at least it really should be. And then my marketing team wanted to introduce you, and I don't mind it, to this new term, Fidgetal. Sounds a little weird, but use it a few times and it might begin to grow on you. But this just quite simply refers to the fact that people are returning to the shopping centres and the shopping malls. The vast majority have indicated that they're still willing to go to their local shopping centre. And if you think about it, this is a return to the social nature of being in shopping centres, particularly as protocols become more established, vaccination rates increase, people are becoming more comfortable. And as such, we're looking at a combination of both the physical world and the digital world. For me, this represents a massive opportunity, because one of the biggest premises of digital media as a whole is its slow march into the physical world. For instance, digital billboards are now quite often connected digitally and even programmatically, giving you an opportunity to complete the purchase funnel of someone who might have been exposed to an ad online, all the way to seeing a JC Decaux billboard on the side of a highway, or perhaps even a shopper media billboard within an actual Westfield. And it just represents an incredibly powerful tool when it comes to better understanding a consumer. And so to wrap up this section, like if I can kind of give 4 key call-outs. The first is, we're looking at impulsive shoppers with a willingness to try new brands. That in itself is a huge opportunity. The data tells us so. The importance of staying top of minds by planning adequate awareness campaigns is also really important to best shift not only the planned shoppers, but also to shift people in store when you're promoting things like sales. The ability to build brand equity is now incredibly ripe, given that you can win customers from competitors with ease, given almost half of them are willing to try new brands. And then the final recommendation is to look at everything from a full funnel measurements perspective. And I don't want to throw out too many terms there, but you're really looking at how not only the media performs in silos, but looking at how all of the different media channels work as a whole. Any questions so far? Nope. Am I still connected?
Still there, Chi.
Oh, thank God. Thanks, Anthony. Okay, I'm going to take this home, hopefully strong. And I definitely don't want to, this is in no way a trade desk pitch whatsoever, but I want to take you through I think it's 3 slides on just basic concepts of how you can really crystallize all of this into a toolkit. And I say this is not a trade desk pitch because you could achieve this with many other different platforms. I think it's just high time to start thinking of things with a step back. The first is, and please just ignore all of the heavy verbiage on this page, but the importance of first-party data. For all of the brands that you work with, their understanding of their consumer is probably one of the most valuable assets. And in the digital world, we can turn that into an asset that we can take advantage of. And so the very first concept is if you run any form of web page, and let's say in this case it's for e-commerce, being able to segment and understand consumers as they enter the purchase journey, whether it's someone who could just be exploring a product page versus someone who's checked out or maybe even left items in their cart, the messaging should be completely different. The same should be for existing customers within a CRM. And the importance is taking the knowledge of this consumer and turning it into the digital realm, whether it's being able to activate prospecting and building therefore lookalikes from people who are just browsing your product pages, all the way to actually fostering brand loyalty through really tailored personalized messaging spread out over time with people who are already buying your product. And so as we always say, the trade desk, please, first-party data is just incredibly important. And truth be told, you don't need much first-party data to actually turn it into a meaningful segment. The second is dynamic creative, and that is just simply changing the creative message according to where a person is in the purchase funnel. And another phenomenal capability is you can once again tailor that message within actual different channels. So if I have items left in my cart, the messaging on mobile could be different once again to the messaging I'm exposed to on a billboard versus the messaging I receive when I'm listening to a Spotify podcast. The importance of being able to dynamically change that, given that we all go through the purchase funnel probably several times a day, is just an incredible opportunity. And there are many exciting companies who power this. And then, of course, COVID has changed consumer media consumption habits forever. This survey revealed to us that 63% of all consumers spend time on the open internet. The open internet is just a way of saying pretty much everyone outside of social media and Google. And it should come as no surprise that everyone loves a bit of catch-up TV, with 18% of respondents heavily consuming the likes of 7plus, 9 Now, 10 Play, and broadcast video on demand. And as such, we always say, I think you're missing a beat if you're not exploring those channels as a realm of advertising. Surprisingly, streaming music and gaming are really burgeoning and do actually present really exciting opportunities to advertise to people. A minority of people spend time on social media and walled gardens. I like this slide particularly if you have a client who is heavily vested in social media, to show that, and it's pretty logical if you think about even your day on the internet. It's not like I spend the vast majority on Instagram and Facebook, and if I did, just don't tell my boss. But we always like to kind of talk about how, just think about your own consumption habits, and that should actually match the way that budgets are split across different various channels. And then, of course, we're lucky in Australia to have a super diverse and rich ecosystem of providers, and we do encourage every savvy advertiser to look at advertising through an omni-channel lens, which is just, essentially don't look at different channels in silo, but instead use the capabilities of all of these partners that you see here on this slide to best address them wherever they are. So I mentioned this before, but a message on mobile will be different to a message on billboard and so forth. And it's exciting that every single one of these providers that you see on screen is now connected into the digital landscape and programmatic pipes too. I think we're coming up to our last few slides, but I would also recommend to really keep a close eye on what we call cross-device. Cross-device is just identifying a single unique user to several different devices. Makes sense. I have a phone, I have a work laptop, a home setup, I have a tablet which I watch sport on. I'm the same person on every single one of these devices. Why would an advertiser want to waste money not understanding that I'm the same person? So really important to use cross-device in order to not waste money during the Christmas period, because I'm sure you'll all agree, people get annoyed really quickly when you're not providing them with tailored and relevant advertising when they're online. And this corresponds just to how people use the internet nowadays. Well, now most of us are now also commuting again, which is absolutely amazing. But once again, your habits as a consumer completely change depending on the time of day, the channel you're using, and the mood you're in. So in order to actually adequately take advantage of everything we've gone through today, you have to not only understand the entire user journey, but tailor the message according to that. So that's all I kind of wanted to go through today.